Okay, family. It is time to taste and see that the Lord is good.
But how can the Lord taste good?
When we remember what the Lord has done to bring salvation to the whole world, we taste how good the Lord is.
How do we do that exactly?
We need bread.
Ah, you mean like some artisan French brioche?
No.
You mean like some cinnamon raisin bread?
We're not making French toast. No.
15 grain?
No.
Dinner rolls?
No. Stop. Let me show you what we need. First, you get some whole wheat flour. And then you've got baking powder and salt and water and oil and honey. The first thing you do is you mix your dry ingredients together. And then, once that's mixed together, you add your oil, and you're going to want to cut it in. Then, once the oil is cut in, you add your honey. Once you add your honey, then you gently and slowly add your water. And you mix it all up. If you find that your dough is a little bit dry, you can add a little bit more water or honey. So once it's all doughed up here, then what you do is you take some flour and you sprinkle it all on your table so it doesn't stick to your table. And you divide the dough into 4 parts. Go high. Did you get enough there?
Mm-hmm.
Some people use a rolling pin, or you can just use your hands and you just flatten it out to a nice circle. Then you put it in the oven at 350 degrees and you bake it for 12 to 15 minutes.
But how did that make bread? You were missing the yeast.
You know, this bread doesn't need yeast. That helps us remember how God brought the ancient Israelites out of Egypt.
Oh, right! Like when after 10 plagues, the Pharaoh finally told Moses to get his people out of Egypt. And they had no time to wait for bread to rise. So they just made bread without that darn yeast.
That's right. Every year the festival of Passover is celebrated as a way to remember this. And bread that is made without yeast is one way we remember the wondrous way the Lord brought salvation to the people.
Is that the only time that God brought the salvation to the world?
No, God also brought salvation through Jesus. Jesus was in Jerusalem with his disciples for the Passover festival. He shared his final dinner with them, and during that meal he lifted the bread and gave thanks and told his disciples that eating bread like this will connect them to his body.
And how does that connect it in Jesus' body?
When we break bread into pieces, we remember that Jesus died on the cross and was broken in pieces. Then, Jesus was raised to new life on Easter. His body was made whole again. When we rise in the resurrection, we will be made whole, just like Jesus. By our faith, we live in the resurrection today. And this bread is our foretaste of that new life.
Oh, that is a really amazing way God brought salvation to life. And we can remember this with just bread?
Yes, We can. Of course, when we celebrate it at church, it's a sacrament, a special meal that unites our community with Jesus and with all faithful people in every place and in every time. But we can also share bread at home and tell the story of God's saving acts.
There are so many stories to choose from. Like Noah's Ark, Moses and the Israelites leaving Egypt, God proving manna in the wilderness, Elijah providing lasting bread to the widow and her son, Jesus feeding the multitude, Jesus healing the lepers and the blind, man, and so many others, and finally to Jesus on the cross.
Will we one day gather again in our sanctuary and celebrate the sacrament together?
Yes, we will. And when we do, we can add another chapter to God's amazing acts of salvation.
Until then, we can share this recipe with one another, and everyone can make bread at home and tell the story and look with great hope for the day that we reunite. Yum.
Good
This is
bread.
really good bread.
This is good bread, possibly the best bread. The Lord really does taste good.
Amen.
Amen.